Hey everybody. It's Wednesday. I figured I'd do a stream when James is going to be doing a stream. Tonight's topic will be about the World Corruption Ranking for 2016. They didn't seem to have anything for 2017 yet. It would be interesting to see what the difference will be and how much of an impact with the coverage of the DNC, our election process, and all this is going to factor in with the 2017. So as well as people come in, I'm going to go ahead and go over the website. But before that, so something new, the live stream is now on a very low latency stream. So I think there's going to be less of a delay between the chat and when people are actually talking, or if I'm talking. I think it's going to be okay. It shouldn't affect the quality of the live stream, I'm hoping, but it could, just so you guys know about that. Also, rather than doing the switching the topics using buttons, what I'm gonna actually end up doing is I'm just going to end the live stream really quick, prep for the next live stream, and then go on with that. And then, so the next live stream after this will be talking about revolutions against corrupt governments. We'll see what people think about that. And then also after that, we'll do an open topic of anything goes. So hopefully, we're gonna start slowly changing things a little bit, but it's mostly just to be a little bit more organized. I think if people want to come and watch a video, since I'm not really doing any editing, it'll be a lot easier for them to see, oh my goodness, it's a 5-hour long live stream. I'm not going to watch that. At least if it's segmented a little bit, I think more people would come back and watch. I was looking at the analytics, and the average seems to be about 11 minutes for each person that comes in. But of course, we go over that quite a bit. All right. So without further ado, until people come in, I will start sharing the screen. Let's see. There you go. Okay. I will zoom in a bit just so people can see it better. This is Transparency International. From what I hear, that they are a nonprofit organization. So, of course, there's a lot of nonprofits out there that could be kind of shady, and I think people know that. There's so much. I don't know if I want to spend too much time on it. I think we'll go over exactly who they are and the amount of people, the type of people that are involved, and also how accurate it might seem to us what their corruption index is for the global corruption index. One of the things that could happen is if it's kind of bogus, we feel like it's kind of bogus. Of course, that's always subjective when we're feeling or thinking that it's not accurate. And we can't really know unless it's just about our country. Of course, how much do we know about our country, the United States, compared to, say, Australia? So we would need some Australians to come in and say, hey, do you think we're more corrupt, or do you think you're more corrupt? And then talking about financing, ethics, and complaints. I like how they seem to be pretty open, but I don't know exactly how open they are. I mean, anyone can just kind of, let's see, that isn't too much information. Okay. Now let's look at that later. Let's actually look at the fun stuff, the global corruption index for 2016. They got a pretty cool looking heat map. If you mouse over it, okay, it doesn't right here. I know it does later. Okay, right here. So in this one, there's a heat map where you can actually see the country of where they rank. So the United States is 18th out of 176. And that means we're the 18th least corrupt country in the world. Wow, I just can't imagine how much more corrupt everyone else is. That's pretty bad. Let's look at Canada. Oh, I guess Canada is less corrupt. They're ranked 9th. Let's look at our neighbor Mexico. They're ranked 123 out of 176. Ouch. Interesting. Okay. Maybe I'll go over a little bit brief reading. Okay, so it says this year's results, again, this is 2016, highlight the connection between corruption and inequality, which feed off each other to create a vicious cycle between corruption, unequal distribution of power in society, and unequal distribution of wealth. In too many countries, people are deprived of the most basic needs and go to bed hungry every night because of corruption, while the powerful and corrupt enjoy lavish lifestyles with impunity. This is Jose Ugas, chair of Transparency International. The interplay of corruption and inequality also feeds populism. When traditional politicians fail to tackle corruption, people grow cynical. Increasingly, people are turning to populist leaders who promise to break the cycle of corruption and privilege. This is likely to exacerbate rather than resolve the tensions that feed a populist surge in the first place. Okay, I'll get to the actual index. So at number one, actually, there's a tie between Denmark and New Zealand. And I think what they do is they also take into account the previous year's score going back 5 years. So since 2012 through 2016, they're also factoring that in. So so that's pretty interesting with Denmark and New Zealand being number one. I would ask questions to other people in the Zoom, but no one's here to talk. So what do you guys think? Does that sound right? Is Denmark and New Zealand pretty good, at least seemingly? We'll see. All right, and then Finland, Sweden, Switzerland, Norway. Wow, that's looks like the Scandinavian countries seem to have it pretty good. Singapore, there's the first Asian country listed at the top. Well, do we really count New Zealand as Asian? I don't think so, although they are located in Asia Pacific. The Netherlands, 8th, Canada, as I mentioned, 9th, and there's a three-way tie between 10th, 11th, and 12th between Germany, Luxembourg, and the UK. Australia comes in 13th, Iceland 14th, Belgium 15th, Hong Kong 15th. They're both tied 15th, 16th. Austria is 17th. And finally, we get to the US with being 18th. We're slightly ahead of Ireland in 2016 and Japan. France is down there at number 23. And just to be entertained, how about we look at the worst corrupt countries? Well, Somalia makes the list as the worst, as the most corrupt country. Hey, what's interesting here is the most corrupt countries are on the list what were those seven countries that we wanted to invade? At least Wesley Clark was saying back in 2002. There's Iraq, there's Afghanistan, Libya. Uh, was Yemen part of it? Well, there's Syria. I remember Syria. Was I think Somalia was it? I'll have to take a look. I mean, that's is that ironic or is that just coincidence? All right, sorry. No, I'm taking a drink every once in a while. If you guys hear that, I apologize. Uh, North Korea. I would have thought they would have been dead last, or at least being the most corrupt. I guess that's Somalia and South Sudan. Um, Venezuela. I mean, look at that. That's also another country that we don't like, but um, we don't really have many Venezuelans to talk about it. I do know here. I do hear things are horrible there, though. Let's see. And then we get to sub-Saharan African countries. We do get a lot of, well, and there's Haiti. Haiti is down there. Wow. Okay. And then once it gets to this point, it's just kind of like they all just kind of in the gray. Like, yeah, okay, they're nothing too special, not too corrupt, not too not corrupt, I guess. What's the opposite of corrupt? Fair? Yeah. And so I wonder if we can't really drill in. I would love to see what exactly they say. Maybe we could look at the Americas. This is beginning of January 2017. It's almost January 25th. The reason why I'm going over to 2016 is because I have a feeling that the 2017 index will be coming out soon. It's look at that irony. It says in this 2016 was a good year in the fight against corruption in the Americas. Not sure about that for the US. I never even heard of the Odebrecht settlement. Has anyone else? That's news to me. Let me check real quick. Nope. Is anyone on? Let me see what the chat says too. Oops. I guess that is true. Blah blah. Yeah, Bram. 2016 was a banner year for corruption in the U.S. But the thing is, we need to wait to see how 2017 looks, how they survey with 2017, because even though they're looking at 2016, maybe things don't come to light until the next year, where there's ongoing investigations and things like that might reveal more. And what would be interesting is to see if anyone that looks through this, if they ever mention WikiLeaks or Julian Assange, if they take that into account. I feel like this is one of those sites and organizations where there's just so much information, so much detail that you can look up and try to just dissect exactly how they're doing everything, and that's a lot more uh, looking into than I could probably handle. Um, in many parts of the region, impunity continues to be a major problem. Even in countries where cases of large scale corruption are being tackled, the risk remains that this is a result of the efforts of a small group of brave individuals rather than a long term plan. Venezuela, with a score of 17, is the lowest score in the region. Last year saw hundreds of thousands of citizens protesting against the government. Hundreds of thousands of citizens. I think the U.S. has been doing that too. Maybe it's maybe it's also mainstream media press coverage that they take into account, and if that's the case, well, of course the United States is going to look good, but we should probably be a lot lower, I would say. So it's one of these things where you just gotta wonder how they are scoring everything, and that's what I want to find eventually. See how they are scoring these, what type of metrics that they use. Let's see. So there was something up here. It's called the Odebrecht settlement. I've never heard of that. It's interesting. And let me go ahead and zoom in. Brazilian firms to pay record $3.5 billion penalty in corruption case. It's a petrochemical company. Huh? Does that not surprise anyone? Foreign bribery case. Oh, actually, I think I might remember this. Let's see who's involved. Let's see. Negotiation of a settlement between the U.S., Brazil, and Swiss authorities. Oh, look at that. Some of the hundreds of millions of dollars used in bribes to secure lucrative business deals flowed through the American banking system, and some of the schemes were planned in the United States, enabling U.S. authorities to claim jurisdiction in the case. Yet we are number 18. Let's see. Operation Car Wash. This was the corruption at Petrobras. Okay, I kind of recollect that now. Oh, we have a U.S. Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. I wonder who started that. Does anyone know what the U.S. Foreign Corrupt Practices Act is? How come we don't have like a U.S. Domestic Corrupt Practices Act? Oh man, this could be just a big joke. Let's see. Could be another propaganda piece. I think you could be onto that. Blah blah. Okay. Let's go back. Let's see how the US was in the previous years. That I didn't really look at and talk about. So in 2000, so our 2016 score is 74. 2015 it was 76. I guess we were less corrupt that time. 2014 we go back to 74. Interesting that that's kind of like the election cycle. We kind of go back down. 2013 was lower and 2012 was lower. So basically, in 5 years, we became less corrupt. And I can't wait until we get a 2017 score. We should have a little pool or something of what the score is going to be. And people who guess right, I don't know, they win a cookie. I don't know. Okay. Wow, it's 10:54 on a Wednesday night and nobody's joining. Do I have everything set up correctly? Let me look. Yeah, okay. People are able can join. No, it's just training. Something important must be going on or entertaining. Okay, let's kind of do you want me to play this? I could go ahead and play it on the share. Yeah, why not? Let's see what they say. So I'm gonna stop the share. I'm gonna go to the what's going on here. Let me just wait a bit. Am I in the right place? Transparency.org. Okay, I need to go to the index. Bear with me. This way you can actually see the video and hear it. Let's go to the YouTube.
We're Rhett and Link, and we wanted to show you how we created our amazing new website with Wix.
Now, we know that having a great website is...
Skip the stupid ad. Let's get that up there. What? That was it? What? All they did was just have like random. It was like one of those drug pharmaceutical commercials. They just kind of had people riding around bicycles and had some music playing with some like text that pops up, and they don't really say anything. What the hell? Maybe this is a big propaganda piece. It's just one big commercial saying, hey, look how not corrupt things are. Okay, let's look up a little more things, and then I'll end the stream and I'll start the next one about revolutions. It seems like no one really wants to talk about this. Okay, let me share. Okay, here we go again. Let's see. So we looked at Americas. Let's look up Europe and Central Asia, because they score pretty high, especially in the Scandinavian countries. And then, of course, there's Russia. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Let's look at Russia. Let's see how they score Russia. Let's see. Russia. Yay! How's it going, Ryan? I'll wait for you to get set up with your mic. I don't hear you right now. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Let's see, Russia. Wow, I have a feeling Russia's gonna be pretty low. Maybe I just need to do a search. Okay, Russia's 131. They are very, very low in there. Hey, you beat us with Australia. Do you think that's pretty accurate? Australia is less corrupt than the US?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think I might agree with you there. Okay.
Yeah, we've got a problem at the moment.
What's your problem?
There we go. I fixed it.
Okay. All right. So, oh yeah. So before I go on to the Europe, what are your thoughts about that video?
Lame as shit.
Yeah.
I mean, any ninth grader could put something like that together.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Lame.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go ahead and let's look at Europe and Central Asia. Let's see what they say. We've got a picture of what do you think? Is that the Ukraine? Do you think? Let's see. There's no drastic changes in Europe and Central Asia, with a few exceptions. Ukraine, yep, I guessed it. Look at that. Ukraine shows a minor improvement by 2 points on this year's index. This can be attributed to the launch of the e-declaration system that allows Ukrainians to see the assets of politicians and senior civil servants, including those of the president. However, cases of grand corruption against former President Yanukovych, hey, Gardner, how's it going? And his cronies are currently stalled due to systemic problems in the judicial system. Of course, last year in Denmark, the top country on the index, 20 members of the Danish parliament, 11% of 179 members did not declare their outside activities or financial interests in their asset declarations. So it seems like part of the index scoring is based on transparency. That would be my guess.
Yep.
Okay. Integrity in politics is the key to fighting against corruption. If that's the index, the 2017 score is going to be horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least it should be.
So who is Transparency International?
That's the thing. We're going to have to look into this a little bit more just to see. From my brief reading, they were just some nonprofit corporation just made up of private citizens from around the world. I'd like to know how they get their funding. I'd like to know their index scoring system.
Yeah, I mean, how do you quantify this? I mean, I'm sure they give some variables, but I mean, come on.
I guess also my question is what's seen as corruption in one country is not necessarily corruption in another. I mean, if you take Citizens United, which is blatant corruption in Australia, you'd lose your job. You know, you'd go to jail for Citizens United in Australia. So do they take that and say, well, since that's legal in that country, that's technically not corruption in their eyes? Or do they have a overall standard that applies to every country?
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like, is Citizens United a good thing or is it a bad thing? I mean, we all know it's a bad thing, but
yeah.
Well, I don't think that they would do it by applying the laws for every country to that country. They must have some kind of overarching standards, probably based on UN fair election standards or something, fair policy standards.
So do you think where it's accurate that the U.S. is 18th? No.
Like I said, how can you quantify this? You know, I mean,
it is a bell curve, I guess, right? It's comparing against other countries.
I mean, geez, there's got to be more than 18 countries that you or I would consider more corrupt than the U.S.
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be. I mean, the U.S. corruption is pretty bad here. Don't get me wrong, but we're on the same list with, like, you know, Nigeria or, you know, Zimbabwe or.
I don't know. Nigeria is almost dead last. They are dead last, I think.
I mean, I look at this, right? I look at I see the United States 18th and Ireland 19th. And I think with the way that Ireland's structured, I still think that Ireland would be lower than 19, considering how they help avoid paying taxes in other countries.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then again, we're running into different standards of corruption. You know, what constitutes corruption, and again, I'm sure that they provide us with some sort of standard, but who are these people? I mean,
I'm trying to find the standard, but there's not much there.
Well, another thing, and I'll go and share the screen again. One thing that would be interesting to look at is the biggest difference between the previous year and the current year, at least 2015 and 2016. And we see that Norway took a big dip. I don't know. I kind of wish. Why do I forget his name? Troxney was here, so you could kind of let us know what was that difference. Why did it go up so high in 88, or like in 2015, and drop 3 points in 2016? And then here's Luxembourg. You've got in 2015 they were in the 80s, 82, and then they got up to 85, and all of a sudden they drop to 81. And we see a big, usually more of a big drop from 2015 to 2016. It's like the world itself got more corrupt.
okay, so here we go. It has Peter fucking Eichen in it, who used to direct the World Bank.
Ooh, can you share your screen and show it?
This is just Wikipedia.
Oh, okay.
But I saw the name Peter Eichen on here, and it's then it popped out. I'll read it though. Transparency International was founded in May of 1993. Peter Eichen, a former regional director for the World Bank, is recognized as founder, along with others. Michael Wein was a World Bank official at Washington, D.C. Hans-Jörg Elsort was the managing director of Deutsche Geldkraft und I'm not going to even try that one. Another founding member was Secretary for Ethics and Governance, President Kenya, General Electric lawyer, U.S. military intelligence establishment is represented by George Moody Stewart. We have Kamal Hussein, who is Bangladesh's former Minister of Foreign Affairs. We have Dolores Espanol, who is former presiding judge of Philippines Regional Trial Court. And Jeremy Pope, a New Zealand activist and writer. And Frank Vogel, a senior official, another famous name at World Bank and head of Vogel Communications.
So this
sounds like a big jerk off.
Yeah, so those are the founders of Transparency International.
Okay, so it's a propagandist organization, I guess. Then
definitely looks like it.
What did you guys think of those almost 7 countries that the U.S. wanted to invade? Remember that Wesley Clark said they seem to be at the bottom of the list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man.
Because America wants to spread its own brand of democracy.
Okay, so we're going to chalk this one up as to being bullshit, pretty much.
That's what it's looking like, unless we can find something else. I mean, just the very premise of the exercise is shaky, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to stop the stream, but before I do, Snork, do you want anything to add?
Well, I think a lot of the corruption in Europe is so institutionalized or part of the culture that they don't even realize it or think of it as corruption. The royal-based system, let's start with London's House of Lords. It's just like built-in flow it to them, money, prestige, connections, whatever. It's very hard for me to separate that from corruption. And personally, when you have a hereditary system for power, to me, it's automatic corruption. And since the method that means that they get into power almost means that a separate system that is also corrupt has to join up a counter system. And I think we see that as well in some of the activities that happen in Europe, and the behavior of some of the people that get wealthy without being part of the um, hereditarily rich end up having to be criminally rich, unless they're J.K. Rowling. I'm not saying that everybody who's rich in Europe is corrupt, but we talk about people with a leg up. We talk about people who say that they're not politically involved, yet their personal trust fund owns like 70 of the most corrupt companies in the United States that influence our government. How can they say they're not involved in politics?
Yeah. So if say we were a group, an organization that were to do this on our own, how would we create the metrics to score corruption? What would be our methods or our methodology?
We need some way to basically gauge corruption against how likely it is for the lowest person in society to get either punished for something, caught for something, suspected of something, or having the ability to attain even basic comforts versus that of the highest person. And whenever that division between the two get large, there's corruption. I mean, even in factories, you used to see it. I can remember in order to get skid loads of stuff through quality control, that our people would have to supply quality control batteries for their Walkmans.
How do we?
Wasn't even that, we weren't bribing them to say, good versus bad, just to let the stuff out the door after it was tested. They wouldn't sign anything off until they got their batteries each night.
And how do we quantify local corruption compared to more, say, state and national corruption? I mean, if say there's a state at the state level, there doesn't seem to be that much corruption, but maybe there's just a lot of counties within that state that do seem to have a lot of more.
Well, where does it start and where does it stop? Let's go back to the Hillary Clinton 2016 event. She was able to buy the party, and all the way down to the precinct levels. She was able to get their okay that 99.9% of the money would be funneled to her. So, there was no way these candidates had enough money to operate. The local precinct houses don't have the money to operate now, as it appears that they're still paying Hillary Clinton's advisors for the next election.
Yeah.
But there must have been, to have that funnel, that system in place, and to get people to agree with it, there must have been a bit of, when we're in power, we'll give you this.
Yes, apparently one of the highest. Sorry. Yeah. Apparently, one of the highest donation getters was against Stephen King, not the novelist, but the rather opinionated Iowa representative. And the Democratic Party said, we have to get money or Stephen is going to win again. Donate as much as you can so we have a chance and to take away. But the candidate never saw, more than a few dollars of investments, because it all had to be redirected to the Hillary Clinton campaign.
And another thing we have to just generally bear in mind when we're talking about corruption, per se.
Well, how is that not corruption?
I'm not saying that it isn't. But one thing that we have to bear in mind when we're talking about corruption is there is a certain level of, quote, corruption that facilitates processes.
Yeah.
So, not all corruption is bad in that sense. Bending or breaking the rules is sometimes a good thing. Not in the case where you do a corporate type takeover of a major political party, but You know, I don't know exactly how it worked out with you exchanging these batteries. I mean, it sounds like you didn't get anything but a signature. But like in some cases, like there is an even exchange there where you get batteries or they get batteries, you get something else. And the overall process is facilitated by this.
But that could just be bypassing bureaucracy, which may not be considered corruption.
Exactly. Like, so how do we define corruption? You know?
Yeah, but the way they defined it was just based on just the disparity between people who are in power and people who have no power, and people who are wealthy and people who are poor. That was their basis.
And I can remember I used to have my secretary intercept all my mail. I didn't open any of my mail. And I would have, companies trying to get your attention would send you $100, or they would send you other items, dinners, coupons, stuff, sometimes totaling several $1,000s a month. And I didn't want to be connected with anything and I knew that if I didn't take the money, that the salespeople would be punished. So I told my secretary, I don't want to know. I want you to open it all. I never want to know where money comes from or anything. Open it all and put it in a fund for everybody in the company. And every time you feel that we need something, like dinner for everybody, or lunch for everybody, or some kind of item that's useful for the entire factory to enjoy, buy it. And we would often have cake and other things like that. I took no accounting of how much. I trust her that she did it okay, but I did not. I was not comfortable even taking a dollar in a letter. Some magazines will send you a dime taped to a card, so you read that card and take the dime. And sometimes you would actually see a dollar bill inside the envelope. There'd be a window cut out so you could see that there was a dollar bill in the window. And I said, I didn't want to know that, and I wanted to know companies that were getting bought because I needed them, not that I needed the bribe. And I was getting paid okay on it. So
on that, me starting this mental health group here, I've had some pharmaceutical companies try and get me to advertise their medication on my website. And I'm like, my website is not for sale. It has no advertising space. It's purely for the users and myself. And they still send me emails and stuff like that. And I'm just not interested.
All right. I want to talk to you later, Ryan. But we'll do that later. Maybe anything goes. So we're going to segue into the revolutions against corrupt governments. And I think we're going to have a good one, Garden, about this. So people who are on Zoom, stay on Zoom. People who are just viewing on YouTube, we're going to be offline, but we're going to be back in like a minute or two. I just have to update like the title and things like that. So I'll see you guys in a bit.